We're a dynamic duo of local entrepreneurs who don't just work hard, but know how to have a good time too. Along our journey, we've crossed paths with some incredibly cool individuals who've crafted some seriously impressive brand-worthy businesses.
You might recognize their business, but are you ready to get up close and personal with the real architects of their success? Today, we're throwing it into high gear as we sit down with one of these trailblazers. So no more suspense. Let's introduce our guest in the studio today.
So without further ado, Love Local Chicagoland is proud to present Brandworthy with your host, Mike and Aaron.
Hey, what's going on, friends? Jason here with Love Local Chicagoland. Today, we're on Brandworthy, and I got one amazing man here, Bret Mooney with Mooney Lions. He's a financial advisor and helps people build wealth with the right plans, but he's just a good dude and a great leader with a great story that's led up to this. So just to give you a little bit more story with Bret, what I feel kind of about him, he's had an opportunity to be able to learn from some great leaders, and through being able to learn through great leaders, he's been able to adapt himself to become a leader himself. So although he's part of Mooney Lions, which is a great local, I would say boutique financial firm in the area, he's one humble dude with a great story, and he loves being able to take care of his clients like a relationship type way, which for those of us that know those of you that know us here at Love Local Chicagoland, it's kind of what we're all about. We're very much into that relationship type business. So enough of me talking. Let me introduce to you Bret Mooney. Welcome to the show.
Well, I appreciate that introduction, Jason. Yeah, so I'm a financial consultant or financial advisor with Mooney Lions Financial in South Barrington, right across the street here. As far as
did you walk here or
not quite walked. I did. It was like a 1.5 mile drive.
All right,
parking was a little difficult today, but everything else was pretty good.
It's part of Bellworks right now. I feel like. Yeah, I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, appreciate it. But yeah, we're an independent practice of Charles Schwab. My dad and his partner started that company about 15 years ago. They had originally started their own silo practices and joined together with their staff and teams. I started with them 5 years ago. So I've been in the business for about 5 years now, and did an internship with Northwestern Mutual prior to that. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Beautiful. Get to know your story. I love you went to college, you got out of school. Your dad runs Mooney Lions, and he was pretty much like, go get another job first kind of thing. When you went to Northwestern Mutual, you got some really great experience. Then coming on to Mooney Lions, you said now 5 years ago?
Yep, 5 years, and definitely got some good experience at Northwestern Mutual. They got a really good internship program there. Learned a lot about insurance, got my LAH exam passed, life and health insurance exam, and learned a little bit about some annuities and about kind of how markets work a little bit at that point. And after 6 months with Northwestern Mutual, decided to change directions and start working with my dad and his partner in the company. After just understanding kind of the difference in the services that I could provide and some of the products and tools that are out there that just are limited at any one company. So having that independent arm was really important for me.
Yeah, you definitely could see that too, and it's good to see outside of things too, especially if your dad's part owner and running it. Like, it's good to see something else,
Yeah. Hey, here's what the corporate world looks like. See if you'd enjoy that and compare it to what we're doing, and you can see the diffenses.
He knew what he was doing.
He definitely knew what he was doing.
Yeah, it's funny how dads have that way of being able to do that. So.
Yeah.
I love your story. For one, it's not all the time do you see somebody that's that their dad runs a company or somebody in their family runs a company, and then you get this person that is truly like humble and just real and honest, and not that all of them are bad by any means that do that, but there's definitely a stigma out there of like, oh, my dad runs a company, there's a chip on my shoulder. There's none of that with you. Getting to know you, over the last few months. Not just through the podcast piece, like, you're just a genuine dude that just your goal is to master, being a really good financial consultant and being to me, like a really good partner and friend along that journey as well, has really kind of developed your style. So I just give you credit to that, because that's not the norm, in my opinion. That's not the norm to see somebody that just is really balanced, man. And especially at your age, of just, your parents, did you right, man. I think as a dad myself, I'm probably 15 years older than you. Those skill sets and those types of values are things that not everybody has, man. So kudos to you and your family for doing that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure, man. I want to talk a little bit about like a little bit of your story and your journey, man. It's you definitely a financial consultant now, but your journey started in when you were young, like kind of you knew you wanted to get into it from our conversation, and you found this love for like math and finance and stuff like that. Let's talk about like when you knew you were going to get into the finance industry.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it probably wasn't until I was getting into high school when I was really starting to be like, hey, what do you guys do for a living? Like, how does this work? And I knew my dad was a financial advisor in some capacity. My mom was a loan officer or a mortgage broker when I was growing up. So I was really acclimated to understanding how the family dynamic and starting to plan for things at an early age can really set you apart relative to what other people are doing, and seeing that planning on a generational perspective at a younger age, seeing how that has put me and my family in a great position, something that I'm really passionate about, and helping connect. And we may talk about this a little later too, but helping connect that generational planning piece from one generation to the next.
Yeah, which is so important, especially now from previous people on the podcast or on other shows that have been here in the studio. There's a big transfer of wealth happening that hasn't happened in the past. So the importance of doing that right, so where you're not losing money or being money taken off the table because you didn't do your taxes right or didn't have the right plan or guide in place, is crucial as you go forward, because the last generation built some wealth for many of us, but what are we doing to curate that and to steward that so that we could go into the future and not only the generation that we're in, but even our future generations? How can we steward that wealth building piece, but also still do some good in the world?
Yeah, I mean, to your point, I mean, we have a lot to say, a lot to thank the baby boomer generation for, right? I mean, that generation was massively successful, and to your point, there's $37 trillion in retirement assets right now.
Wow.
It's a lot of taxes to be paid over the next 30, 40 years across these people's lifetimes. And that's a lot of money to be inherited by the next generation or their beneficiaries. And there's a lot to go into that and a lot to plan for.
And we'll touch base on that later, but a plan is crucial, and having a plan, because there's pieces of the puzzle. If you don't have fit, you could either screw one of your kids or screw is maybe the wrong word, but you could put them in a not great place because maybe they're in a different tax bracket or whatever. So having a good plan, a guide in place is super, super important. And we'll touch base on that a little bit later, but I would love to stay here within your story today. So you knew coming in high school, I'm guessing you played sports in high school, right?
I did.
Football too in high school?
Football, track in high school.
Cool.
Did baseball and basketball freshman, sophomore year. I regret not playing those later on, but football and track in high school. Yeah.
It's funny. I have some of those regrets too for baseball and me, but I couldn't play because I went out to Las Vegas and the kids were just too good for me being a Midwestern kid because they played all year long. So I couldn't play, but football I played. But anyway, you went through school. We went here locally. And what high school was it?
I went to Jacobs High School in Algonquin, Illinois. So I grew up in West Dundee, where my parents live. I now live in Crystal Lake.
Awesome. So went to Jacobs High School in Algonquin, and then played football, quarterback, and then went on to college and played college. So talk to me a little bit about your college experience and what you took away from there.
Sure. Yeah, I had a really successful kind of high school football career, and got a scholarship to play at Colgate University for 2 years. Played there for 2 years, and amongst a lot of different areas, I decided to transfer. Long story short, I wasn't starting at that point in time. Started as a freshman, didn't start as a sophomore. Transferred to Ferris State, which is a Division II school in Michigan. Ended up never starting at Ferris State either. I was a backup quarterback there as well. But world works in funny ways. I met my wife at Ferris, and I would never regret making that decision on going over there, and made some great experiences there.
Well, to give you some good credit for your wife, we'll give you that as a clip to make sure you're good to go. But
perfect.
But yeah, that makes sense, man. And so Colgate first, and then went to Ferris University or Ferris State?
Ferris State University.
Ferris State. I feel like I've seen it before.
And now we're north of Grand Rapids, Grand Valley State. You might be familiar with. They're pretty big rivals up there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So boo Grand Valley State. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, boo Grand Valley State.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So even though I'm not too big on the rivalries, but yeah, boo Grand Valley.
All right, I'll say it for you, man. You don't have to get into it. So okay, so and then you're there. You're playing college football. I think when we were talking, I think one of the things that stood out for me was that you weren't a starter. You were a backup quarterback, but yet you were made captain by your team.
Yep.
Talk to me about a little bit about that and that philosophy for you.
Yeah.
When you come into to be a backup quarterback. I'm gonna go back to what I originally said. Good values, good morals. To be a backup quarterback, but still be looked at as a leader. It's a special type of human that gets put in those types of roles. So tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, I mean, I thought I knew what leadership was when I was in high school, when I was usually one of the better players on the field, and people would listen to what you had to say, but it could have been for other reasons other than the fact that you were a good person or a good leader. It wasn't until I got to college when I really understood what being a good leader meant. And I think being the captain of the team my senior year as the backup quarterback was kind of a commitment to that. And just understanding that you can do things to benefit something that's bigger than yourself. And that's kind of where it translates very well to where I'm at today in my career. But just being a part of something bigger than yourself, and having that understanding and illustrating that to other people. And if you're a person that can understand that I'm doing this for something that's bigger than me, and here's why, and you should do this, and this is why you should do it, and feel that way.
Yeah.
So like ultimately, I take a lot of pride in being the captain of the team, and I think it really correlates to where I'm at in the business world today, just because two quotes that have always stuck out in my life, right? My dad always told me growing up, I'm sure I'm not the only one, but control the things that you can control, right? And I can't control my playing time in the field, just like I can't control how the market performs on any given day, right? And the other thing that I thought was a really big important thing for me was actually from a Spanish teacher in high school, Miss Benoit. And maybe she'll see this, but she always used to say, you'll never regret doing the right thing. And that doesn't mean right or wrong on a decision. I mean, morally, right? And if you're tied between two scenarios, right, you'll never regret making the right decision from a moral standpoint, whatever the repercussions of that look like, you won't regret making that decision. And that correlates to my everyday work ethic in the weight room and my everyday analysis of how markets are performing and how we should make adjustments, right? So those two rules for me helped me get through my college football career and helped me become a leader. And where I'm at today in my business, those two rules, I think, translate across every walk of life. So
to me, it's like almost secret to life was within that. The beauty could come from just going about those traits. I think about, doing to others as you would want done to you within that. And, here for Love Local, like it's not about each of us individually. It's more about the collective thing that we're going after and the community we're looking to build a better tomorrow. But that didn't always come to me either. So I think coming to you at an early stage in life, I think I look at like, and my questions would go to like, where did that leadership come from? I know like I got leadership traits, but I had to like get punched in the teeth before I got leadership traits. And they're maybe a little bit later.
You got to go through some ups and downs to really be a true leader, in my opinion. You can be a leader and only see the upside, but you don't have a full understanding of where other people are coming from until you've gone through it. Right. Which
is key, right? Understanding others' perspectives and understand their stories. And then within that, kind of to what you said, you worry about what you can control within that. But at the end of the day, if you understand somebody's perspective or understand somebody's story, you can help them be their best versions of themselves by just genuinely letting them do that. We can't
control our playing time on the field, but we can control being in the weight room 5 minutes early and staying 5 minutes late.
Yeah.
Right? We can control those things and put us in the right position so that the things we can't control maybe change for our behalf. And we have to be satisfied with that.
Yeah.
Otherwise you're never going to be happy.
Amen, man.
Yep.
Leadership, I don't think I come from a place where I don't think we're born leaders. I think we're grown into leaders. We might have some natural inabilities, but at the end of the day, we learn and we grow as leaders. So where did you get your leadership style from? Like you talked about your teacher, you talked about your dad. I know when we're getting prepped for this, but talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely come from a multitude of things. Because I think leadership comes in many capacities. And ultimately my mom and dad were obviously two integral roles for everything that I did. I had some really great friends and coaches growing up too. But it's hard to look past any point other than my dad, right? I mean, just growing up from the age of 12, I know at the time I didn't appreciate waking up at 6 a.m. and doing the things I needed to do to be successful at the things I wanted to be successful at. But just being instilled from a young age on, hey, if you want to go after something, here's what you need to do in order to accomplish it, regardless of what it is. Put in the time and do what you need to do and control the things that you can control. And that's been instilled in me since I was probably 10. Right.
Yeah,
so
it's beautiful.
Just living that way. And again, like I said, I don't think I really went through true ups and downs until I hit college. Right. And that's where the leadership skills in my mind really started to exemplify and translate to where I'm at today in my business.
Your true character comes out when things aren't going your way, right? 100%. Whether it's, I say punch in the face, not literally, but it feels like that sometimes when you're going through struggles or transitions. It's the hardest to do the right thing. Yep. So, but through that, beauty could come. So, beautiful. Thanks for sharing that part of your journey. I think I hear those stories and like my kid's 8 now, and I'm like, I see him like trying to give these life lessons to him now, and I'm like, okay, don't be over the top, but also these are really good value sets. Like if I had some of these value sets when I was earlier, I'm like, how would I be now? So like I go back to stewardship, which we'll talk more about later with financial stuff, but stewardships of leadership of like, your dad learned these things. These are good traits. If you implement this, worry about the things that you can control. If you're the first person in the weight room and you're putting in that work, you'll succeed. And it might not be easy and you might get knocked down, but you will succeed if you just focus in on these things at the end of the day. I think that shows true test of character. And it also, to me, it gives me hope for like the dads that are out there. Like, let's teach our next generation of kids that like we could do anything we want. Because even since your dad was, raising you as a young age to now, like the world's changed so much. Like it's super important for us to like double down on our kids and to be able to give those values to them, which I'm sure you will as you and your wife continue to evolve.
Agree.
And then Cole on our team loves to babysit. I'll just say when you guys have kids. So you're welcome, Cole.
Good to know. Good to know.
So, all right, leadership, I love it. After college, you went to Northwestern Mutual, and got some experience from there. Then you got into Mooney Lions. Talk to me a little bit about like the Mooney Lions culture. It's not your standard, to me, it's not your standard culture here, and you talk about it. Yeah. So talk to me about what your thoughts are with your organization.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think I talk about a lot of different things when it comes to our organization, right? But from a financial services standpoint, right? I mean, everybody knows, hey, when I reach out to a financial advisor, I'm going to be able to get some sort of investment advice, right? And that may be a goal of yours, right? To see what your investment performance is or how you can perform better. But ultimately, what we have found is winning or succeeding means different things to different people. Right. What one person sees as a successful plan or investment experience is different from another person. So understanding what winning means to you and how we can be an advocate to help you achieve that. And there are so many different things that can be important to somebody that might not be important to somebody else, right? So being able to have the in-depth conversations on what people are really looking to accomplish, and then being able to have that conversation on, yes, we have the resources to help you accomplish it, or no, maybe we need to reach out to our circle of professionals around us to introduce you to somebody who can help you there. So really, to me, it's being an advocate for our firms, right? The investment management, I think we do a great job, and I think we do a better job than most, but ultimately that's the minimum standard of our industry is the investment management. Every advisor does that. It's the other pieces where you start to separate yourselves, right? When it comes to the planning side of things. And I play an integral role in generational planning, right? So we talk about that a lot too, when we talk about kind of looking towards the next generation and kind of what it means from an estate planning perspective. And when I help plan for those things, right, I mentioned baby boomers, right, and they have a boatload of wealth that either they're going to be spending a lot more than they were anticipating spending in retirement, or they're going to be leaving a nice estate to the next generation, right, and being able to coordinate that across the generation or a family from a grandfather and grandmother to their kids to their grandkids. I've seen that firsthand, and I love playing that role for our clients and being the advocate for them and their family.
Yeah, I love it. And there's so much that goes into your field, and what resonated with me about your guys' culture is like, you got a guy internally for everything that you mostly need, but then you have this wide variety of networks. So like you have a solve for your clients. It's more for you, and everything that I've gotten from you, even before we started this interview process, was very much about the relationship. It's like, how can I serve you and how can I best serve you? And if I can't, then I want what's best for you still. So maybe I'm not the right fit. And that seems like it's truly embedded kind of within you, but it from knowing, Eric as well, Mesco, am I saying?
Eric Mesco,
I know that's very much in your guys' culture, from what I've gathered.
Well, I mean, we talk about that a lot, and I focus on something called to and through retirement, right? I mean, in our industry, this isn't a one-time sale and good luck, have a great day. This is a lifelong relationship that we're creating, right? So not only does it need to be a good fit from a personal standpoint, right, but you need to be confident that I'm a person that you can confide in and trust to help make decisions around what you're looking to accomplish. And maybe I have the answer right away, or maybe I can be your advocate and help you find the person that can get us that answer. And I take pride in having those conversations. Yeah,
I think that's so important, to be able to take what people are looking for and to be able to help develop a plan for that, instead of just putting it, I look at some of these, let's say cookie cutter brokerages. It's more like they're going to put you into their program, into their plan, and those types of things where I feel like you guys like, okay, this is the macro of this person and their and what they have to work with and what they've built. Here's the best options for you, and kind of I feel like you're more custom or more tailored than maybe I'm not going to say any names, but you know what I mean? Like, for sure. the ones that you see commercials on. Yeah, for sure. And to your exact point there, right? When you talk about like just differences from a service level standpoint or from an investment management standpoint, I do think having that process where we're meeting with clients on an ongoing basis and automating that process, right? Like being an advisor with X amount of clients, it's hard to navigate all these different things that are going on, right? So the structure that we have, it forces us to do our jobs in the capacity or in the way that my dad and his partner Joe envisioned for the company, right? Like it's not my responsibility to schedule meetings, right? We have people that are automatically scheduling meetings 2 to 4 times a year, and if you're retiring and have complexities, it may be more than that, but it's just an automatic thing that's getting done. So I get to focus on my conversations with my clients. Smart. Yeah. Right? I don't have to worry about getting people on the schedule and doing all these other various things. I can focus on my conversation with you and how we're going to accomplish that by the next time we talk. Good systems make or break a business at the end of the day. So having good systems where you could just stay in your wheelhouse is so important. I know like we're infancy stage of what we're doing with Love Local, but that's the goal. Like we all kind of have to be cross-trained in the beginning, but eventually you get to a point to where you guys are at, where you have a person doing, each person has their role, and with that each person executes their role collectively as a team, you fly, and you grow. It's really helped me grow as an individual too. I mean, I'm very confident that I wouldn't be anywhere near where I am today if I didn't have the uprising. One, I was kind of shadowing the partners at the firm and other advisors for my first year with the company before I even was meeting with clients. But so that's a huge thing for us too. Yeah. It's that training. I think it's needed in your field. I mean, you can't have client conversations if you don't understand how you're going to be able to educate and explain it to your client. And I take pride in. I know enough to be dangerous in a lot of different areas, right? But I have no problem telling you, what, that question you asked, I don't know the answer to that right now, right? But we have a couple of people on the team that I'll be able to get their expertise, whether it's a CPA or an annuity specialist or a social security specialist, right? What do we need to accomplish? How can I advocate for you to get this answer or to get this done? And then I help us accomplish that. So yeah. When we talked, and you talked a little bit about this too, like everybody has different roles within Mooney Lions, but we talked about 4 different buckets of how it's more than just investment management. So you talked about investment management, tax planning, insurance planning, estate planning. Yeah. You know, a little bit more on like a macro aspect of what that office looks like and how you serve clients. Yeah. So I would say like, for tax planning, for example, right? And obviously all these different buckets, there's a lot of different areas that you can plan for. I mean, really, we talk about 3 major phases, right? You got the accumulation phase, the pre-retirement phase, and the post-retirement phase.
taxes means tax strategy and planning is different for those three phases, right? So like there might be a business owner who doesn't have a retirement plan, right? There's 10 different retirement plan options out there. Which one's the best for you, and how can we help you limit your tax liability? Or maybe as simple as for somebody who's accumulating money, hey, Bret, should I do a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA, right? It could be as simple as that, right? But as simple as a question as it is, it's not as easy of an answer. And really looking at things long term, right? Like a question you should ask yourself: do you have an idea of what your tax rate throughout your lifetime is on average, right? Like there's certain things like that when you look long term, right?
I have no clue.
That you have to start to think about, right?
Yeah.
How is my tax situation going to change throughout my lifetime, and how can I plan accordingly? And then like estate planning, I talk about generational planning quite a lot. That's one of my main focuses, and we're fortunate enough to be working with grandparents, children, and grandchildren, and helping coordinate the generational wealth transfer, right? Mm-hmm. And some people have estate planning issues, some don't. But there are a lot of people out there right now who aren't on pace to spend their retirement assets by the time that they pass, right? And there's a lot of money and tax dollars to be paid. And how can we keep the most amount of wealth within your family or with what you're looking to accomplish? Insurance planning, right? I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with that, right? Do you have the proper amount of insurance, whether it's life insurance, long-term care, those types of things? We do have the ability to help and sell those types of products, but that's not really our main focus. We typically can run an analysis, and we like to refer that out a little bit more. Mm-hmm. That's not our main role, but if somebody wants us to absolutely get them an insurance policy, we can help them do that too.
Yeah, yep. You're looking at people from the macro, and you're helping them put the best plan in place, and to know like that. You're not going to know everything. If you're a consumer or people that could be working with you, you're not going to know everything. There's just too much within each of those buckets for us as the person that does not specialize in it to know. So to have a guide that is focused on relationships and it's focused on what the best tools are for you to be able to help you execute your goals is crucial. Yeah. I go back to like these larger firms. It could be very transactional. Those days, in my opinion, should be over. It should be very much relationship based, very much relationship driven, so that the best plan can be put into place for you with whatever it is, but especially financial pieces of it. Our jobs from taking the money that if we're fortunate enough to get from the baby boomer generation, to be able to steward that, to be able to leave even more to our kids and vice versa, so that it could continue generation after generation, can be life-changing for somebody's family.
And it doesn't even have to be, and there are some people that don't want to leave boatloads of amounts of wealth to the next generation, right? They might be charitably inclined. There are really great ways to do that. Minimize your tax liability and maximize the amount that you can contribute to those charitable causes, right? And that's another big piece of what we can help with, looking at charitable strategies as well.
Beautiful. I'm quoting you right now from our conversation. You said winning means, and this might be from Mooney Lions too, so you could clarify, but winning means different to different people. Yep. You help clients build a roadmap. You said, I have one role to be your advocate. Yeah. What is that? Like you kind of touch base on it throughout it here, but what does that mean? Like high level overview for us.
What that means is, number one, being available, right? I mean, who's a better advocate? The person that's available within 24 hours or the person that's not, right? I would argue the person that's available, right? So number one for me is just being available, and being that resource, right? And it doesn't have to be a question on investment performance. Anything financial related. Hey, Bret, should I buy
probably
a car?
Fantasy football too? Right. Probably got to.
I do have some good pointers on fantasy football, and people like to pick my ear about the whole Justin Fields, Caleb Williams quarterback situation too. So I get to share my 2 points.
Next podcast,
we got some
we'll
other
talk
topics.
about that.
But yeah, I mean, those are major things that people need to be thinking about. Is do you have somebody that you can trust enough to ask a question and know that I'm not trying to make a commission off of that or try and make an extra buck based off of my recommendation, right? I'm really truly trying to help you make the right decision based off of what you have going on.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And I think that's the best definition of an advocate. Obviously that can mean a lot of different things. Hey, Bret, I need what my tax return didn't look like it was done correctly. Can you help me determine if I need to make a change? And I'll make that phone call and we'll talk it through and I'll let you know, right?
Yeah.
That simple as that.
You got to move.
You got to move, right?
Yeah.
And having the expertise of really good team members behind me allows me to focus on that. I mean, you said this is a career. There's so many different things. This is my career. I'm in it every single day, 40 hours a week, and I don't know everything. And I mean, I've been in the business only 5 years, not a boatload of experience, but I don't know everything, right? And I'm in this career every day.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine how my clients feel who have their own full-time jobs, right? Tax codes changed 5 times in the last 4 years.
Yeah. No way you're keeping up with
It's completely different today than where it was 4 years ago.
If you
right?
are,
So,
you like you're obsessed and you're like the 1%ers.
Yeah, if
Most
you
of
are,
us
it's your
can't keep
full-time
up.
job.
You
Yeah.
can't keep up, and
Yeah.
it's the same way I look at media or marketing business. Like we can't be everything to everybody. You can't do everything because it's to me, kind of leads perfectly in a transition, but there's riches and niches. Like hone who you're good at serving and double down on that, and good at what you're doing, double down on that.
Yeah.
Through that's where not only do you get really good at your craft and your team gets really good at their craft, but you're able to give this higher level of service. And like, to your point earlier, like what you can control, what you can, and what you can't control, you don't worry about. What you can control, you make sure it's spot on for people, and you go from there. Let's talk about your niche. You're not everything to everybody within investment management, but let's talk about what your niche and who you're really passionate about serving.
Yeah, for my niche, I chose my niche based off the amount of value that I can provide. And I find that I found the most value in the generational planning side of things. And like I mentioned earlier, the baby boomer generation has a boatload of assets that they're either going to be paying a lot of taxes on, maybe not spending, and maybe leaving to the next generation, right? So I can help incorporate children, grandchildren, and help you maximize what that looks like just further than just your lifetime. Right. And being able to reduce what those tax burdens are on the family, and being able to coordinate. And maybe it's as simple as getting your 18 to 20-year-old son or daughter-in-law or just acclimated to the investing world. Right. Hey, I'm going to gift my children some money this year. I'm nervous that they're going to just spend it right away. I want to get them acclimated so they're excited about this. Right. I take pride in helping my clients achieve that within their family because I grew up in a household that did that. And I understand how much of a difference it can make when you're looking over a span of 20, 30, 40 years.
It's a game changer, right? And it seems so long within our lives, but it back to the stewardship of our roles here as we continue to go forward. There's a lot of old people right now and there's a lot of wealth being transferred. How are we doing that so that we could set up a better tomorrow? Yep. By having that money orchestrated right so that us as this next generation could use that to continue to build things and to have it compound could set us up for generations within our families, which we really, maybe 2 people ago we've worried about that, but that's really it.
Yep.
It's newer in within our society. So I think that's super important. And I think with the working with baby boomers in that generation, like there's just so much need. I was reading a book called 2030 and it was like painting a picture of what the world's going to look like in 2030. And there's a lot of hypotheticals in there, but one thing that's for sure kind of balancing to your point is there's a lot of old people that are retiring. So our not only financial systems need love, our healthcare systems need love, et cetera, to be able to help this generation. But for financial piece, to get a guy or a gal that could help guide you through all these intricate pieces so that you're doing the stewardship you can as a baby boomer to make sure that you set up the next generation is crucial to me for a better tomorrow. Like your grandkids depend on it, that you could give them a running start. If this is done right, you could give them a running start. And with how transparent our world's become now, we can create a better tomorrow, especially if we have capital behind us to be able to do that. Yeah. Right.
And I read something the other day on generational planning a lot, right? And it's just like a food for thought comment. But what do you think's more impactful throughout your children's lifetime? Would you think it's a $50,000 gift for a down payment on a home at 25 or a $500,000 inheritance at 65? Right? I'd argue that $50,000 help on that down payment was a lot more impactful than maybe 500,000 when they're 65 and have accumulated all of their assets already.
Yeah.
Right. So those are conversations that are just thought provoking.
Yeah.
Right. And those are the conversations I love to have with a family. And sometimes I'll have a family meeting and everyone will be sitting down and we'll be talking through this together. And I'll say that, and like, what would be more impactful for you, son or daughter of XYZ client? And it's, you know what, I mean, if I could purchase this house, I make enough money, I'm saving in my 401k, I'm going to be able to retire by the time I want to, but I really want to get in a house right now. Right. And maybe the parents are in a position, they can't gift them 500,000 at that point in time, like they maybe would when they were 90, when they're close to their longevity. Right. But that $25,000 or $50,000 gift now may be that much more impactful to their family.
Yeah, it's so that's huge. And it's a great way to be able to look at it. Another reason why you need a guide, within our team, we were talking about overall, like the power of, I moved out when I was 18, I was gone. But there's a power in staying with your parents for a little bit, or there's power in getting some money up front to get started. Cause it really helps steamroll that thing. If I could go back, I would have loved to stay with my parents and saved and invest money from like 18 or 19 years old. And I'm seeing, I'm gonna call them kids, but they're young adults now doing these things. And I'm like, yes, that's it. Like, think like that. Cause at the end of the day, the slower you can go and you can look at this from a macro perspective, compound interest will do its thing. But if you could get a running start, it's a beautiful thing. But sometimes you don't know that. Like as a parent, I might not know that. I hear 500,000 or 50,000. I might think, oh, it's definitely going to be better. But if they're old and they can't use it and they can't use it to accumulate more wealth, then is it? So it's a great way to be able to look at it. When you're working with baby boomers, people, who are you, like, are they leaving their last financial advisor, or are they just starting? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah. I mean,
overall?
I'd say the majority of our relationships have come from other financial advisors. Ultimately, they saw the value and the difference between where they're at versus where they could be or where they should be from a planning perspective, whether it's an investment perspective. There's a lot of different things that can make you want to make a change. But we do have a lot of clients that came straight from their employers, right? They had invested their money with their employer plans their whole lives. And that world completely changes when you go from investing money into that account every day or every other week with your paycheck versus you have to start to take withdrawals, right? There's a lot of different things to think about that should probably be invested differently, right? So that's really the time when people are like, okay, I need to meet with somebody and figure this out. So those are the two. But we have most of our clients come from other financial advisors who aren't happy or want to make a change.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. I think some of them are probably retiring too, right? And yeah, like they're moving out of the business. So where do I go, right? Exactly. And what do I do? So
selling a business, or maybe they're a high-level executive and have pensions or deferred comps that they got to figure out how it's all going to correlate together, and they're not getting the advice that they need. And they're like, all right, I'm moving on. I need help here. Yeah.
So if somebody's in that position, what questions should they be asking the financial advisors that they're going to be interviewing to make sure that they get somebody that's the right fit for them?
Yeah. I mean, one thing that I really like, or maybe there's 3 or 4 kind of really good questions you ask. I like to use a term called guardrails for retirement income. So really determine if your advisor isn't really mapping out what your guaranteed income sources are and what your maximum amount of spending could be versus what your minimum amount of spending could be, and how that changes depending on how your portfolio reacts. That's a really good tool to get an idea of, no matter what kind of market environment I'm in, this is the minimum amount of money I can get monthly or annually, and here's the maximum, and finding that proper range for you. The second thing I already kind of mentioned previously, do you have an idea of what your tax rate is, or what your tax rate is over your lifetime? Are there opportunities where your tax rates go down? And are there opportunities for you to maximize those years and reduce your lifetime tax liability? If you're not having those conversations, you probably should be, right? Yeah. And that's something that I would definitely be touching base with your advisor on. Hey, should I start income from this now or this now, right? Depending on what your tax situation looks like, it could be different.
Yeah, it's always smart. At the end of the day, get somebody you trust, right? Like I feel like you could trust your gut. When people are coming from a relationship standpoint, like you get to know that person if you know what they're doing. So if you have that conversation with them, so getting somebody you trust, and having those conversations so you can set up better tomorrow are huge.
Yeah.
One of the things I love, kind of coming out of the niche piece, one of the things I loved about you guys is now you're a boutique financial investment firm, and that helps people curate wealth with those 4 buckets that we talked about. But you're also about giving back to the community and those types of things. And to me, I think that's like a foundational piece. It's kind of why we call it our business love local. Is like if us as businesses can take care of our community, and our community can take care of us.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
It works out for all of us at the end of the day.
Sure.
So talk to me a little bit about Mooney Lions and just what you guys do from a community perspective to give back.
Yeah. And we're always open for new ideas too, and in terms of what other organizations out there are worth making an impact towards. But for right now, some of the main things that we do, Boys and Girls Club, annual kind of donations for events and things like that. Big Brothers, Big Sisters, we donate a lot for community events there. We do a lot of community educational seminars. So like I'm doing one next week at Algonquin Library. We did one a month ago at McHenry County College. So we offer those classes kind of free of charge through those community services. And we offer educational seminars. And the last one was maximizing your retirement, right? What are some things that you can be thinking about and some strategies that you can put together to accomplish those things? We do a lot of food drive donations, and we get our clients involved, which is it's that relationship side of things too. And a great thing that our clients love about us is that we're able to bring in our community of clients to make an impact. The Toys for Tots that we get every year going into Christmas time, we're like a top 5 donator to Toys for Tots because of the amount of clients that we get that will come in with 15 to 20 toys to donate around Christmas time. And it's really powerful to see the impact that we can make. And then we do like food pantry stuff when they need some extra help. We got a contact there. They reach out to us. Hey, you have 5 or 6 hands that could help us, and we'll do some community things there. But yeah, those are things that we're always looking to continue our impact around the community, and it's something we take pride in.
Yeah, it goes back to the culture that is instilled within the organization. It's relationship based, it's expert driven by depending on which bucket you're in. But at the end of the day, it's about helping steward your financial well being to help create a better tomorrow. And the stuff that you're doing in the community does the same thing. Those seminars and stuff that you do, or workshops is what I think you call them. Like there's people out there that don't even know they're anything because their generation didn't teach them about financial advising or about wealth building or anything like that. So they could come to this seminar and they could learn and they could grow and they could help. Maybe they're the first generation chain breaker to help make a better tomorrow, or maybe their grandparents or somebody are going to give them money and they could learn how to steward it in a better way with a goal of making a better tomorrow with the help of capital. Yeah,
I mean, retirement's definitely going to be different for the baby boomer generation than it was in the previous, right? I mean, like I mentioned earlier, more people are going to retire in the next 15 years than ever in the history of the United States.
You have that, and you have artificial intelligence. Like, dude, we're just going to sit back and like blockchain. Like, let's just
who
sit
knows
back
what happens 10 years from now?
Who knows,
right?
man? Let's just sit back and enjoy the ride. But the bottom line is, good stewardship is there regardless, and it's about making. To me, my grandpa instilled it in me. It was like legacy is important, stewardship is important. You're here, but it's really about tomorrow. And if each of us looked at that approach, what could tomorrow look like? So I feel like it guys really resonate with that type of thought process.
To your point on change, when we first meet with somebody, we put together a really nice comprehensive plan, and we're like, you know what, this is a really great plan, and obviously it's not perfect. There are some assumptions we make here, but ultimately it comes down to, we call it the rough draft, right? And we put a lot of time into that rough draft, don't get me wrong, but the reason we call it a rough draft is because that's going to change probably every single year.
For sure.
Right? The environments change, your goals change, right? And what your goals are,
laws change, right?
Laws change. Yeah. What your goals are at 55 are not the same as what they were at 45.
No.
If your investment allocation is the same, right, we should probably take a look at that, right? Or if your investment objective is the same, we might want to take a look at that, right? So as your situation changes, you need to be proactive, not just with your investment portfolio, but with what you're doing with cash flow, taxes, estate planning, all of those things. Like we call it the 3-legged stool, right? Your estate plan, your tax plan, and your financial or investment plan. Those three things need to be on the same page, right? And hopefully you have some good professionals who work together that can help you figure those things out. But if you can get those 3 professionals on the same page and coordinate it together, or have an advocate who can help coordinate those things, you'll see a big difference from where you are today.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. It means a lot. Anything else you want our audience to know?
You know what? No, I think that did a pretty good job at kind of shedding light on who I am and who we are as a firm. And yeah, if you guys have any further questions or anything specific that you want to talk through, everything we do is complimentary in terms of when we first meet with clients, right? So there's no charge in having a conversation. Only if you decide to have us manage some assets in some capacity would there be a charge. So feel free to shoot me an email or give me a call, and happy to touch base on if you just want to see if you're doing the right things and want a second opinion, or 2, if you're thinking about making a change and going a different direction.
Okay. Sounds good. Do you want to put your email and your number in it just in case people are listening? Want to say?
Yeah, for sure. Should I just say it out loud?
Say it, go.
Yeah. So my email is Bret, Bret with 1 T, M at mooneylions.com, MOONEYLYONS.com. And then our office number is 847-382-2600. I do provide my cell phone to a lot of clients as well. I'm not going to provide that over the air here.
No need to. Yeah.
But at some point, I talked earlier about being an advocate and being available. Now, I may not answer every single call, right? But having access to my cell phone is something that I think is important, because I'm not always going to be at the office every day. But if there's something that you need to reach out to me for, give me a call and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
I feel like that goes into your advocacy piece, right?
Exactly.
And for Mooney Lions, go to the website and social media at all. Can they follow?
Yeah, social media. So we do a lot of different webinars and stuff where we do financial updates and have quarterly newsletters, things like that. That one, you'll have to reach out to me to request to be on those, because I'll need an email or something to kind of get you access to that. But yeah, there's a bunch of different things that we can get you access to. We got a YouTube channel for a lot of different topics that we'd like to highlight and just kind of give you some perspective on how we approach those situations.
Yeah, I feel like you guys are forward thinking in what you're doing with content. From watching you guys as a content curator and as a businessman, and not every financial firm is going there yet, but you guys are pretty transparent, pretty out there. Many financial firms, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, or almost I feel like afraid to talk a little bit, and you guys are just real upfront and transparent with everything that you do, which to me as a consumer is respected very much so. And you're meeting the consumer where they're at by making this type of content.
You're going back to one of my golden rules, right? Control the things that you can control, right? And clients know that I can't control how that one investment performs based off of what happened with geopolitics, right? But I picked up the phone and we talked through it, right? Yeah. This is why we own this. This is why we still want to own it, or this is why we want to make a change, right? We're not cowering away or hiding during market volatility. I mean, you look at historical averages, we're probably going to have a recession once every 5 to 7 years, right? So we know it's going to happen. You should know it's going to happen, right? But what's the plan of action, and what can we control to make the right decision around what happened here?
Yeah. Bret, I think that's a great way to leave it. Let's worry about what we can control. Let's do the best that we can within each of us. If each of us within our jobs can do that, I think it's going to just make the world a better place. But I appreciate you being here on Love Local Chicagoland and our Brand Worthy series. You and Mooney Lions are truly brand worthy and doing some great things. So
I appreciate the kind words, and thanks for having me today.
Yeah, for sure, my friend. My friends, another episode of Brand Worthy here on Love Local Chicagoland. My friends, we're about connecting and humanizing our local communities and our businesses and our nonprofits through that. You heard me talk about it in between. It's about creating a better tomorrow. If we could learn from each other, if we could grow from each other, if we could be connected with local professionals that are really good at their craft, and we could learn from that and grow from that, what does the world look like tomorrow as we go through whatever the heck we're going through right now? So anyway, follow, subscribe, keep following us here on Love Local Chicagoland. We're just getting started. Peace out.